boys and girls. We're going to read a book today called Silver Packages. It's an Appalachian Christmas story. An Appalachian means that it takes place right around here. We live in Appalachia, in the Appalachian Mountains. The author, Cynthia Rylant, she is an author that grew up around here. And the paintings are by Chris Sointpiet. So you can look and see. These are homemade decorations on the tree. And there's the silver package. And this little boy is the main character in the story. There you go. There's the caboose. That's the back of the caboose. And there's the train. A train comes through Appalachia every year at Christmas time, and though it doesn't have antlers, nor does the man standing on its rear platform have a long white beard, it may as well be Santa Claus and his sleigh for all the excitement it stirs up. People call it the Christmas train. Sometimes they call it the Santa train too, but in this story they call it the Christmas train. And it has been coming to them for years. Each new child born in the mountains learns to walk, talk, and wait for the Christmas train. It is everyone's delight. The older people remember its beginning. They tell of a rich man who had come traveling through the hills by car many years back. You can tell that's a car from a long time ago. No one knows why he came up into the hills, but why isn't important. What matters is what happened. The man had an accident. His car just took itself right over the side of a ridge, and the man slumped in that car, hurting and scared. Someone came along. Some say it was old Mr. Crookshank, but others say it was Betty Pritt. But who came along isn't important either. So he had a bad wreck and was in the car, and alone and scared. Whoever it was pulled that rich man out of his car and took him to a house in the hills where he was nursed and cared for until he could make it out on his own. When he left, the rich man tried to give money to the people who had helped him, but they would not accept it. So that rich man left the mountains feeling he owed a great debt. So a debt is something that you feel like you owe people. Sometimes it could be money, or sometimes it could be like where he was hurt, he may not have survived if it weren't for their kindness. So he feels like he wants to do something for them. And for the remaining years of his life, he has been repaying this debt from the caboose of a Christmas train he brings into the hills each December. On the 23rd, everybody knows it, the train will slowly wind up and around the mountains, and on the platform of its caboose will stand the rich man in a blue wool coat. He will toss a sparkling silver package into the hands of each child who waits beside the tracks, and for some, it will be the only present they receive. So the train is awfully important. Because sometimes we're very fortunate here. You're going to get presents from your grown-ups, but sometimes grown-ups have to work so hard to get things that their children need that they don't really have any extra money to get them things that they want. And that's one thing that nice rich man is doing. He's bringing presents for those children because he sees how they struggle. If you look at this little boy's pants, look how short they are. So I think what's happened is he's gotten too big for them, and they're too short. So I'm sure his legs are cold. He kind of looks like he's cold, right? And they've been patched, so they must have gotten a hole in it. One year, a boy named Frankie stands beside those tracks and waits for the Christmas train. It's very cold, and a lot of snow has come down the night before. Frankie's shoes are thin, and his feet hurt badly from the cold. But he is determined to wait, even if his feet and all the rest of him become ice. So he's freezing cold, and his shoes seem where he's standing in the snow. He's very, very cold and icy, but he wants to wait. Now this particular boy wants a particular present. Not just any present tossed from the back of that train, a particular present, a doctor kit. He's been waiting for it beside the tracks, so that's what he wants. The train comes through finally. Noisy and steaming and scary, it is so big, but everyone loves to see it, and they cheer and clap, and some of the mothers even weep to see it coming. So the mommies, some of them are even crying. They're so happy to see it because they know that their child is going to get something special from the train, or the man on the train. Frankie stands there at the tracks, praying for a doctor kit, till he sees the caboose slowly coming up. And when it is just past his nose, he shouts and waves and runs after the train, his icy feet aching. From the rear platform, the rich man in the wool coat sees him. "Merry Christmas," he calls, and he tosses into Frankie's hands a sparkling silver package. Frankie stops running. He is out of breath, so he can't yell a thank you. He can only hold tight to his gift and wave to the man and the train, disappearing into the mountains. Frankie carries his package home and puts his own name on it and sets it under the family Christmas tree. On Christmas morning, he opens it. It isn't a doctor kit. It's a cowboy holster and 3 pairs of thick red socks. Frankie looks at his mother and father and brothers and sisters and tries not to cry because he really wanted that doctor kit. But he did get something fun, right? And he got something he needed. Remember how cold his feet were? 3 pairs of socks can be life-changing if you don't have good socks and your feet are cold. He wears the socks all winter and plays with the cowboy set all year. But he dreams of a doctor kit. The next Christmas, Frankie waits again in the cold for the Christmas train. The socks still fit him, so his feet are warm, but his fingers are cold and hurting. He waits at the tracks and prays for a doctor kit. The train comes. The rich man tosses the silver package. And on Christmas morning, Frankie opens it. No, it is a little police car with lights that really work, plus 2 pairs of brown mittens. Frankie doesn't cry. He wears the mittens all winter and plays with the car all year. But he dreams of a doctor kit. Frankie waits 3 more years for a doctor kit. It never comes. He gets trucks and balls and games. He gets mittens and socks and hats and scarves. But the doctor kit never comes. So I'm sure he is very disappointed. But he still gets other things, right? What are the needs here? He gets trucks and balls and games. He gets mittens and socks and hats and scarves. The things that he needs in the winter are mittens, socks, hats, and scarves. But he got other fun things too, trucks and balls and games, and the police car and the holster set. When Frankie grows up, he moves away, out of the hills. He lives in different places and meets different kinds of people, and he himself changes a little into a different kind of person. But deep in him, never changing, are his memories. And what he remembers most about being a boy in the hills is that just when it seemed his feet would freeze like the snow, a man on a train had brought socks. Just when it seemed his fingers were hardening to ice, the man had brought mittens. Just when the cold wind was cutting sharp as a blade into his throat, the man had brought a scarf. And just when Frankie's ears were numb with red cold, the man had brought a hat. And Frankie remembers something about owing a debt. So now he's remembering all of these things, how someone helped him. And he wants to help too. He wants to pay off that debt. And it doesn't have to be with money. It can be with time, with caring. So, a grown man who has been gone a long time moves back into the same mountains to live. His brothers and sisters are still there, waiting for him. He returns to the hills where he has grown up And that winter, near Christmas, he stands at the tracks, watching the children wait for the train. And it comes, as always. The grown man watches the steam engine move toward him, watches the caboose roll by him, and he nearly runs after that train, so strong are his memories. The grown man nearly runs after a silver package. But instead, he watches a little girl chase that caboose, watches a man in a wool coat toss her a sparkling silver package, watches the gift land near the girl's feet, watches her running so fast that she trips on her silver package, watches her fall to the ground. The grown man does run now, but not for a train, not for a rich man in a wool coat, for a little girl. What do you think he's running to that little girl for? He picks her up. He wipes away her tears with the scarf from around his neck. He smiles at her. "It's okay, little one," he says easily. The train is disappearing into the trees. He had meant to wave to the rich man, but there wasn't time. He picks up the silver package and puts it into the little girl's arms. "You'll be all right," he tells her. "I'll make sure." He pulls open his kit to look for a Band-Aid. "Name's Frank," he smiles. "I'm a doctor." See, he finally got the doctor kit that he wanted, but it wasn't from the Christmas train. But because he was given all those things over the years, and because he so badly wanted to be a doctor when he grew up, he did those things, and then he was able to come home and change lives, just like that man had changed his life. I hope you liked that story. I love that story. It makes me get tears in my eyes sometimes.